Doc Feeley. It is time to check in on Cleared to Play, where we probably could check in on all three teams, to be honest with you. So let's do it. Cleared to Play, take you inside the tent, get you updated on the latest injuries in the Bay. Proud to partner with UCSF Health in this segment and bring in our friend Dr. Brian Feeley. Hey, Doc, what's going on?
Not much, guys.
Well, glad to have you. First, let's start with the Warriors. We've watched Chris Paul shooting the rock, and we're starting to see the ramp up, and the Warriors, of course, playing well before the break. What is your expectation right now, both when we see Chris and how he'll look when we do?
Yeah, I mean, he was injured January 5th, so typically we target about 8 weeks before you come back, so that's looking like early March. And so if they said after the All-Star game he's got about 10 days of ramping up, that makes a lot of sense. How he's going to look, probably pretty solid. It's on his left hand, and it's his index finger. So if you think about it, that's a lot of what's going to control his ability to shoot and pass. So this lead-in is how much pain is he going to have, how much swelling is he going to have in his hand, but most importantly, getting the conditioning up and running again. And, you know, as a 38-year-old, it's not quite as easy as when you're 24, 25, but my expectation will be that he'll be in good shape and he'll be able to hit the ground running.
Speaking of running, we didn't see a lot of that in the All-Star game on Sunday, a lot of jogging up and down. Is it fair and founded for these players to be that concerned over injury over a game where maybe they're playing three-quarter speed?
You know, I think any athletic exposure there does increase the risk. I think when you look at this, you would probably say defense in some way, shape, or form probably would increase the risk, and they safely stayed away from playing any defense if the score was 211 to 186. So I think it's low risk, but I do think anytime you're out there cutting, trying to land jumps, it does increase your exposure a tiny bit. So even if it doesn't make it look as fun necessarily in terms of competition, I think they're right to just kind of take it easy.
Doc, let's get into a little baseball as spring training here is underway and upon us. I'm interested in some of what's going on with the Giants pitching staff. Alex Cobb had hip surgery in the offseason, and they're saying it's going well, but it's a little mysterious in terms of what his timetable is. When do you think he might be back on the mound?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I think in general the training staff does and the medical staff do such a good job of being conservative with these guys and making sure their function and their form is essentially perfect before they go back in. And if you think about hips in general and pitchers, so much of their strength comes from how much rotation they get through their core and their hip. So you really want to make sure that both their landing leg and their push-off leg are perfect. So, you know, if he's having any symptoms, they're just going to be conservative with him and hope that he can go back full bore.
Robbie Ray, new signee of the Giants, had Tommy John last May, so now we're 9 months removed, and he's hopefully on track to return midsummer. What's the return to play like now off a Tommy John injury with a pitcher as opposed to 10 or even 20 years ago?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think it's a lot of where our science has come in and shown that this really isn't a 7 to 9 month recovery, which is what it used to be. Now we're really seeing a 12 to 18 month recovery. So depending on where it is in the season, some of these pitchers will miss essentially almost 2 seasons. And I think that's largely because the surgery, ironically, has gotten better. So we're being more conservative with when these people come back. And the other thing is a lot of these patients end up getting the tendons repaired. The flexor tendons are what protect your ulnar collateral ligament and give you some extra stability to the elbow. So having both of those repaired is going to delay the amount or delay how long it takes to get back. But their function once they return is much higher than it used to be.
Doc, Pablo Sandoval's 37 years old and didn't play baseball last year. So what are the physical sort of things we should be thinking about with his arrival at Giants spring training?
Well, he didn't play baseball in the U.S., but if nothing else, in the last couple of years, Pablo has proven that he loves playing pretty much everywhere. So I think he's played in 3 different countries. I think if he's in decent shape, he always has a shot. And if nothing else, he makes the clubhouse more fun.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth? Doc, great stuff. Thanks for doing it, as always.
All right, guys. Take care.
Okay, Dr. Brian Feeley with us. The proceeding was sponsored by UCSF Health.